Yeah, we'll go Villanova, Kansas first. But before we do, let's take a look back because I think this ties in to these two games. I thought the real trend coming out of Sweet 16 and Elite Eight. How about the unders? You
Yeah.
you like
Oh,
under? I mean, my God,
well,
11-1 unders, first half unders, 11-1. I wrote a few of those, but not nearly enough. That was incredible. It
I
a virtual lock.
I mean, the final score of the Villanova game was 50-44. That's 94 points. I joked, I saw a guy that I worked with before on Sunday. I said, I'm glad I'm out of the game. He said, what do you mean? I said, how do you make totals for these games? 94 points. I mean, how low can you go? It was 128. First half unders. that was a thing that people were talking about in the first round, right?
Mhm.
This round, I think every one of them came in.
11 and it was 11-1, wasn't it?
11, 11
11-1
and
on the
1.
first half unders and the full game unders. I mean, it was
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing. Well,
Does that
that
trend
ties.
continue?
Yeah, I think that's the question because I think some of this depends on who you like in this first game, Villanova, Kansas, because you talk about two contrasting styles. Kansas is going to want to get up and go. They want to get Brown and Abaji in transition. Villanova, the opposite, 345 out of 358 teams when it comes to tempo. So Villanova is going to want to go slow. And then the story with Villanova is the injury situation. Justin Moore out, unfortunately, popped that Achilles late in that game. That's a shame at any point, but with 1 minute to go in that game, Justin Moore pops an Achilles. And this is a team that only played six, Dave. Now they're down to five, and they lose one of their best players, their best
Oh,
defender in Justin Moore. I know the numbers baked in a little bit because I think this game's a one if Moore is healthy. So I know the numbers already there. How much do we factor that in? I mean, a thin bench just got really thin, might be non-existent for Villanova. So let's start there before we get onto the court. How much does that factor in? Do you worry about it because the numbers baked in? How do you approach that from a big injury standpoint for the Wildcats?
how do I approach it? I ain't got no Kansas stuff, but I got Kansas City stuff. You see my Royals jersey and
I
my
see that.
Kansas
Monarchs.
City
Is that the
Monarchs.
Monarchs? Is that,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the
Okay. Yeah.
Monarchs throwback
Yeah.
hat. Thank you to Rings and Crowns, an unbelievable company that Lids has kind of either took over or helped out, but they had a collection that it kind of picked up. Um, I mean, this is easy, right? You just play Kansas and move on. Villanova has no chance. That's what everybody's kind of talking about. I don't know. This could be a see. The thing is every time you do this and you count a team out, the spread's 4. Like this, this is more. This is the odds makers telling you, hold on, hold on, hold on. This is not so easy. This is Villanova. This is a senior bunch of guys, a great basketball coach, and Jay Wright. It's now 4.5. All right. Pretty much, yeah, unanimous. There's not any place that I'm looking at. It's not 4.5. Um, I think you gotta hesitate though in laying it. If you're gonna play it, you probably should play it now. I think it goes back to it goes to 5, but I don't think it lasts. I think there's a faction of people, bad guys included, that will take Villanova +5 because the score is going to be so low. Not only when you take 5 could Villanova win the game, but they can cover the spread. Kansas didn't cover against Providence, right? The numbers have
We
been
were on that. We like that. Remember, we like
right.
Providence +7.5. Kansas to win. That was a good one. We middled that. We got
Yeah,
Kansas to win and 7.5 for Providence.
this is what I'm thinking for this game right now as well. I'm not ready to. Are you ready to just buy that whole thing, the narrative we just discussed, and say Kansas is going to the final game? They may not cover, but Kansas is going to the final game because this might be one of those Kansas money lines if you like them, or Villanova plus the points. In game, it's got to be 6 plays because I think there will be a time where Villanova will be leading this game. So you'll be able to take Kansas at almost a nothing number. And there will be probably a time where, Kansas is pushing a double-digit lead. You may be able to grab Villanova +8.5. But are you ready to just dismiss it? You got Kansas in the
No,
final game?
I do. I like Kansas to win the game. And you know me, I've
Mm.
been on Kansas now for how many weeks? I like
Yep.
them. I've watched them up close covering the Big 12. Excuse me. So I really like them, and I think they're playing really well. Here's a couple of things. I don't want to dismiss Villanova just yet because I'm afraid that narrative is so far the other way. Oh, they don't have more. Villanova has no chance. And I'm not comfortable there. Villanova is excellent. They've got a great coach in Jay Wright. But I do think a couple of things on the floor matter here. Number one, transition is what we talked about. So Kansas is going to want to get up and down and go. But Villanova is very good, 6th nationally in transition defense. So teams don't score real easily on Villanova. They get back with that slow pace offensively. They get back on defense. So let's keep an eye on that. A couple other things, though, from a Kansas perspective. Their half-court defense continues to get better. If you talk to the Kansas folks earlier in the season, and Bill Self himself talked about this Kansas team wasn't good defensively. Bill Self himself. Yeah, did you like that sentence?
Himself. Okay.
Bill Self himself talking about his team. They didn't like how they were playing defensively. Then over the last 7 or 8 games, this Kansas defense has really started to pick it up and has played really well. Let me give you a number. Kansas held just 5 opponents below 40% as an effective field goal percentage from November through February. Yeah, so what that means, that factors in 3-pointers are worth more than 2. It's just not your straight shots made. Okay. Effective field goal percentage takes into the value of the shots you make. Okay. So they only held 5 opponents below 40% from November through February. That backs up what Bill Self and some Kansas followers were saying. They're not playing as good a defense as they need to. Okay. But since mid-March, Kansas has held 4 of its 7 opponents below that 40% mark. That defense has really picked up. So if you now have a Villanova team without one of its better players in Justin Moore, one of its offensive threats, and here's where he's a big threat. In the pick and roll game, which Villanova likes to do a lot, he's their 2nd most frequent use in pick and roll, and he's their most effective ahead of Colin Gillespie. So that takes a big chunk of their offense out of the way, and it takes away their best defensive guy. Their best individual defender is Justin Moore going against a team in Kansas that has multiple guys that can hurt you offensively. I think this is a massive loss here. I do like Kansas. They're playing better defense. I think they can get out in transition. And here's the other thing. The last thing on Kansas, and I'll let you go, Dave. Ochai Agbaji, who's a National Player of the Year candidate, Big 12 Player of the Year, really hasn't kicked it in yet in the NCAA tournament. I mean, first team All-American and has not carried them. This is a great job by Bill Self and Remy Martin, the transfer from Arizona State, who has not fit well with this Kansas system all year. He was injured, which took away some of his playing time, but he just couldn't fit in this system. There's been some frustration on both sides, but here's where I credit Bill Self. He did not just discard Remy Martin, kept Martin engaged enough that as he got healthy, Martin has been the guy that's been carrying him here in the NCAA tournament. So Remy Martin is now playing, and you haven't had Agbaji get going yet. He is due for a game. I like Kansas here. The point spread makes me a little bit queasy, but I like Kansas for all of those reasons in this one.
Man, I think you just talked me into laying the points. I think you talked me right into laying the points. We're both old enough to remember Villanova winning this thing with Raleigh Massimino. Sure. And the magical 2 games that they had, and the last one against Georgetown, I'll never forget, because they kept making shots when they had every reason to not. And they had injuries, and they had, I think they played 5 guys too. Like, it was just one of those things. Does it take that special effort in your mind from Villanova to not only win this game, but win the whole thing? I don't think they can do it twice. I really don't. It would be amazing if they did. They can do it once. I think with this injury, they got their road. The hill may be too high to climb. It may be too much to ask. I just looking at it from that standpoint. And now you tell me that Kansas is playing better defense and their best player hasn't been their best player this whole tournament in March. Like, everything is leading up to laying the points with the favorite. That's at least what I'm thinking. The total is so low. 133. I think this plays to the under again. I don't know. I mean, whether either team wins, I don't think it matters. I'm leaning under again. Call me crazy. Call me, boring. Call me repetitive. It looks like the same game, does it not?
Yeah, I think you have to go that way. And listen, Kansas is totally comfortable playing the game in the 50s if you want. Remember what league they're coming out of in the Big 12. So they can
Yeah,
get down in the muck and absolutely muck this thing up and make
yeah,
it look ugly in the 50s. So that's a comfort zone for them. They want to get out and run and they want to find some easy baskets. But as I said, their defense is picking up. I just like Kansas. There's a lot of reasons. I didn't even get into the bigs with McCormick and Lightfoot inside against a Villanova team that only goes as big as 6'7" or 6'8". So to me, this is, yes, it's some of the injury, because I think more than just the mental impact of losing one of your best players, what I just said about Moore's impact on the court, I think is big. And I just think Kansas is playing really well. I think they've got a lot of different pieces. We mentioned Martin can carry them if need be. If Abaji comes back, he's there. That puts Brown as a third option. I mean, that's a hell of a third option there, Dave, when it's Brown as your guy. I just like Kansas. I know a lot of narratives are saying, well, coaching advantage to Jay Wright. I mean, my man Bill Self's still a Hall of Famer. There might
yeah.
be a coaching advantage. I mean, it's not like it's Bill Self that doesn't know what he's doing here. I think they're just, I like Kansas. Again, maybe I have some bias because I watch them every week throughout the year, but give me Kansas here in game one. And I default to under first because I think Kansas can play either way you need them to.
Before we move on to the next game, I wanted to ask you, what is it like for the teams now that they've gotten to the Final Four? Like this whole week, like with the practices and the shoot arounds, I mean, there's people there. You're at the Final Four. I don't think, I mean, you got the four blue bloods, like with teams that have all been there, and maybe not Hubert Davis, but as a player, he was, not as a coach. Okay. Nobody's overwhelmed by this stuff as far as the coaches and the schools. How big is this for the kids?
Yeah, it's just a great experience. I went to one in 2010 with West Virginia, one of the great events, one of the absolute great sporting events around. I think one of the things you have to think about, though, there is a feeling, or at least it felt like there was around our West Virginia team of, we made it. The Final Four itself is such a big deal. And we talk so much about, it's not less about national championships than Final Fours, but what do you hear so often? Been to how many Final Fours, been to how many Final Fours, been to
Yeah.
how many. Getting to the Final Four is a big thing. And I think you have to guard against the exhale of, we made it. And now you got to go win some games. I think to your point, though, these are four programs that aren't going to exhale because they've made it to the Final Four. This is four
Right.
programs that expect to win national championships, even North Carolina that comes in as an 8 seed. So you've got a really young Duke team. I mean, we talked about this, one of the youngest teams that was left in the Sweet 16 in Duke, but it's all guys that are used to playing in big moments in these big situations. So I think this is one of those Final Fours where there's no just, we're happy to be here. This is four programs that expect and understand how to go win a national title.
It's always a letdown Monday as far as the betting handle and all this stuff. Saturday is such a fun day in the book, and then it rolls to Monday, and like college basketball fans like, oh, the game, and then it's like it's Monday. It's such a letdown. Like you said, the exhale is Saturday, and
that's true live, Dave. If you're at a Final Four, the best days are the Thursday and Friday leading into the game Saturday. And then the game Saturday, it's that festive carnival atmosphere that goes on.
Yeah.
And then so much clears out. I mean, Sunday, you're kind of walking around the streets going, there's still a game. And by the way, it's for the natty. It's for a natty. Where'd everybody go? Merchandise is slashed at 75% off. By the way, pro tip, if you're going to the Final Four and you see all that nice gear, try not to pull the trigger, because Sunday or Saturday after the games, that stuff gets slashed. You can go in and load up. I know you're a gear guy. If you ever find yourself at the Final Four, Sunday's your buying opportunity when they need to get rid of it. Just a little pro tip right there.
That's maybe the best tip we give anybody today on this show.
That's better than the betting advice we're giving out.
Right, exactly. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, click on another video right here on the screen. And if you really liked it, consider subscribing below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.